In this video, I will provide you a brief explanation of 5 theoretical families in creativity. We can credit the psychologist John Curtis Gowan, who created a classification of these creativity theories. The theoretical categories are as follows: the cognitive rationale and semantic approaches, personality and environmental approaches, then there's motivational approaches, then there's the psychoanalytic or psychodynamic approaches, and then finally, the personal exploration approaches. So let's go through these categories. The cognitive rationale and semantic approaches to understanding creativity essentially say that the creative process is a common sense, rationale, natural process that any human can engage in. The set of theories included in this approach to creativity generally take the view that creativity is a logical and understandable thought process that is primarily concerned with the use of verbal concepts and representations. Creative problem solving, for example, is a process that follows this tradition. Another approach is the personality environmental approach, which involves our characteristics, our traits that influence us to use our creativity, such as like our curiosity, our adventurous approach to life, playfulness, or having wide interest. Now, the next category, the personality environmental approach, also emphasizes affective dispositions and their effect on creative behavior. In recent years, affective constructs have received growing attention in the media under the label of emotional intelligence. Paul Thoeretical, another psychologist and a pioneer in the field of creativity, insisted that emotions and non-rational factors are more important than solely cognitive, semantic, and rational factors. Let's go to the next category. Another approach is the personal exploration approaches, which is the more irrational approaches to understanding creativity. This approach suggests that creativity comes from irrational thoughts, connections, altering the way you think. This approach to creativity stresses the expansion of consciousness as a way of unearthing vast and untapped resources and experiences. Most people seldom tap this most potent creative dimensions of the mind. In the personal exploration approach, one can tap into the dimension of the mind in 2 ways. It can be drug-induced and non-drug-induced. For example, a non-drug-induced exploration may find that practices of transcendental meditation leads to significantly better scores on originality and fluency of visual spatial creativity when compared to control group participants. A drug-induced exploration may study the effects of LSD, acid, on recognized visual artists, noting specifically that work influenced by drugs had the qualities of bolder lines and more vivid colors of those drugs, permit the dissolution of boundaries, and promotes greater intensity of experience. So we saw those differences. Motivational approaches, this is the other category, involve the pursuit of personal fulfillment, personal growth. It is a desire to become everything that an individual is capable of becoming. Theories related to self-actualization have been the cornerstone to this theoretical family. Let's go on to the next one. Motivational approaches comes out of Maslow's work. It is about capturing your potential and striving to improve yourself, maximizing your potential, getting in tune with who you are, recognizing and actualizing that potential. For example, a motivational approach exploration may find that creativity enhancement stems from fulfilling self-actualized needs, such development of competence, satisfactory relationship with others, and physical well-being. This approach may theorize that when individuals are sufficiently motivated as a result of these needs being met, they produce novel ideas, combine old ideas in a novel way, or apply knowledge from one field to another. The next category, called the psychoanalytic and psychodynamic approach to creativity thought, historically drew much of its inspiration from the work of Freud. The creative process is, according to Freud, a defense against neurosis. To elaborate, let's say that there are clashes between the unsatisfied and unconscious biological drives and reality-based conscious processes, which in turn leads to a production of socially acceptable creations instead of socially unacceptable behavior. Unfortunately, this view of creativity conjures up images of couches and, when perceived in this manner, does little to assist the field of organizational creativity to examine more closely the skills needed to foster idea generation. And so creativity unfolds through the preconscious, drive-related impulses by sanctioning things like daydreams and fantasy and play that subsequently enlightens the conscious. The psychoanalytic and psychodynamic approaches relate to the irrational side. Freud talks about the struggle between the id, we call the primitive instincts and energies underlying all psychic activities, and the unconscious mind, and the superego, which is the part of the unconscious mind that acts as the conscious. It is the resolving of that conflict, that id, that has the unrepressed urges, and the superego that tries to control these urges, that lead to creative output. It is the resolution, the transformation of those impulses. It is the transformation of socially accepted output that creates these creative products. And there you have it, 5 theoretical families of creativity.